Welcome back to the ETF Inspector. It's Tuesday, July 15th, almost 8:30 at night, and this will be today's video for YieldMax weekly paying funds, ULTY, the Ultra Option Income Strategy Fund, and LFGY, the Crypto Industry and Tech Portfolio Option Income ETF. As always, just a reminder, I'm on X at ETF_Inspector1, where I give you a heads up when videos are going to be premiering, along with a link. And sometimes, for some reason, it doesn't show the thumbnail. It just shows that, but don't worry, that it's still the same thing. That's not a fake. I know I would be less likely to click on that than that, but it is what it is. If you don't trust it, right, you could just always go over to YouTube and go to my page and just click on the premiere video. You don't have to follow the link. All right. Before I get started, though, I owe a couple of thank yous, so I wanted to shout them out real quick. Two people yesterday or last night on last night's video, Crappy Human, which feels like I'm saying something bad about somebody, but did a super for $1.99 with a question asking if I'll ever start a wolf pack. So I'll looking into it, but I just wanted to say thank you, big thank you, not expected at all, so much appreciated. And then also when I woke up this morning, I got another notification that Freddie Bitcoins also did a $2 super. I'm not sure why it didn't show up on that other page. I don't fully understand this. I'm brand new to this, but thank you, Crappy Human and Freddie Bitcoins. Okay, so today's video, let's go ahead and look. You saw from the thumbnail, lots of red. It was a fairly down day for sure, but somehow ULTY still went up, even though most stocks within the fund were red, as you can see. So this is just kind of the 10,000 foot view, right? We're going to dig in deeper from our spreadsheets, so no need to spend a ton of time right here. And then we scroll down past our monthlies and we get to LFGY, which was down a little, but it actually went back up the same amount in the after hours. But again, lots of red. Okay, and then those are the indexes for the Roundhill videos I make. So let's take a closer look at what we're talking about. Trades today. The only actual shares that were traded, they purchased RH. So if you've been around for a little while, we used to own shares in RH. Then we sold the shares and we just did those debit call spreads. Now we are back to owning shares again. So we're back to a collar strategy. So put about $43 million into it to buy whatever that math comes out to. I'm not going to do it on the fly here. And I can erase that now. Okay, so now let's get into the trades. We got a decent amount. It's not the worst day, but my mouse isn't wanting to scroll. There we go. Okay, so AMD. This is one where we don't own shares. We just have those debit spreads, and we got a lot going on here, so I will break it down to help you understand what you're looking at. Big picture, the full closeout and roll to next week ended up as a debit of $61,000, but I don't want you to get that confused because debit spreads are different than credit spreads. I've explained this lots of times. So you put money in as the investment at the beginning of a debit spread, and then you see what you win at the end. So in that case, if I break out that portion of it, right, this is just the closeout of what we've been talking about for the last week or so. We bought to close all the calls that we had sold, and we sold all the in-the-money calls. That's what's highlighted here. So as you can see, that was a win, 1.5 million. Then in the middle, they had a little bit of fun. It was kind of goofy. So they bought some 142s for this Friday, and then bought some more, paying $15.50 and about $14.95, almost $15, and then sold them within the same day for $12.79. So they tried to do an intraday trade, and they lost. So that cost us $592,000. So if it hadn't have been for that intraday trade, if we just closed out our winning trade and opened the new one, we would have actually been a profit, because if we get rid of that $592,000 loss in the middle, our overall would have been been a gain, but that's okay. So then this $976,000 debit is just the starting of the new position, right? So we bought 150s and we sold an equal amount between the two of 162.50s. That cost us $976,000. Okay, but obviously they're in the money, and we will see at the end of the week whether that ended up being a good trade or not. So that's kind of everything that happened there within AMD. AppLovin, just a much more simple, right? Closed out the position we had and rolled down closer because the stock dropped, profiting $352,000. ASTS, the opposite. The stock went beyond our strike, so we closed them out and opened new. Stayed within the same week, but it cost us almost $3.7 million. So it's a good way to ruin your day. RH. So we got a whole lot going on here, right? All in all, on the total trading for RH, we profited, or we got a credit of $1.7 million. The breakdown for that, again, this was a debit call spread that we closed out. So we bought to close the sold calls 30 and 40 cents. We sold also to close the long calls $6.20 and 40 cents. So that portion of it, where we talk about, that's a win, right? 1.3 million. Then let's see. These guys also did an intraday trade in the middle of this transaction, so they closed all that out. Then they sold some 210s, but then they turned around and bought them back to close again. Sold them for $150, bought them for 58 cents, so that turned out nice. An extra $156,000 in the middle of the day. And then finally setting up the new position, but now this is different. It's no longer a debit call spread. It's our typical collar that we use within this strategy. So we sold calls out of the money above the current strike, the current price, and we bought puts to protect our shares because now we have shares. So that portion of it took in a credit of $226,000. All right, SMCI, another just typical close and roll. Still stayed within the same week. Just the stock went beyond our sold calls, so we had to buy to close and sell new ones. $1.2 million loss. Same thing with SMR. New scale power. Stock went up too high. We closed them out and sold new ones. Closed 39s, opened 45s. Or are they 390s and 450s? 39s and 45s. Shouldn't have second guessed myself. $2.6 million loss. So we got a $3.7 million loss, a 1.2, and a 2.6. It's making it a rough day, even with some wins. Vertiv, okay, here's another one of those where we had a debit call spread, another one that turned out to be a win. So all in all, $5.3 million collected on the Vertiv closing and opening of new positions. This one got a little hairier in the middle, so I don't have the full breakdown because they split the numbers up a little differently than where they sit in the holdings. So I'm not able to really show you the clean version of all that. We do know it all totals up to a $5.3 million credit. And then I also just want to talk about this one where they performed another intraday trade. Right, so they bought these 116 calls for $10.93 and then sold them a little while later for $11.15. So, all in all, a 15 and 7, 22-cent profit. But it turned out to be $54,000 once you did all the multiplication, 100 shares per contract, almost 2,500 contracts. And then they went ahead and opened their new debit call spread. That's what this $1.6 million debit is. So don't consider that a loss. This isn't over yet. That's what we put in, and we will find out what we take out on the 18th, or if we close it sooner. And then finally, Vistra Corp on trades. They only adjusted the sold calls. Okay, so it's a debit call spread. They bought in the monies and they sell the out of the monies. They just closed out the out of the money calls that they had sold and brought them a little closer to collect more premium. $566,000 profit. So all said and done, it was a $334,000 profit on the day, and that's pretty nice, especially when you consider. I mean, we had a few losses on stocks going beyond our strike, but then we also have a few large debits where we are kind of placing our bet that we won't get to take the credit till the end. So to make all that and still have a profitable day, it was a good day trading. I actually forgot to bring over our total value change, so we'll all see that together. All right, so if you saw orange, right, orange is under construction, right? So if we rolled positions, then over here we show that we rolled positions, and then we don't need to talk about whether these options are in the money or not because they're not there anymore. The new information shows up on tomorrow morning's download. All right, so AAOI is our first one, down 0.8%, 6 and 9% out of the money on options ending this Friday. No action was taken. So I won't sit here and read each change in market value, but as I scroll, if you're interested to see how each stock individually affected our value, either up or down, it's right here. I'll just give you the total at the bottom. But hey, while we're there, look at ASTS. All right, we said it went through our strike, and that's how much it helped our fund value wise. Okay, AppLovin down similar, 0.8%. Well, AMD went up over 6%. That's why we had to close that out and roll it. But that actually worked in our favor because that was a debit call spread. Okay, AppLovin lost 0.8%. With that, they closed out the ones further out of the money and rolled them. We still have 347.50s that are 1.5% in the money. ASTS up pretty big, 6.8%. We rolled all these options. We'll have new ones tomorrow. Coinbase down 1.5%. That helped. These good thing they didn't close these out. See, we talked about this before. You know, when they don't close them out just because they go in the money, well, if they go even further, people go, well, why didn't they close them out? Well, then make sure you pat them on the back when it works out that they didn't close them out, because now another day went by to make the premium decay away, and it dropped back out of the money. So it turned out to be a good move not closing them out when they went in the money. So those are 1.1%, and there's also 415s that are almost 7% out of the money. First Solar up 6.9%. That took everything either in the money or just barely out of it. So it was a big increase on First Solar. The 165s, sorry about this. Good thing my boss doesn't watch my videos, or he'd know I just ignored his phone call. I'll call him back. So 255 contracts, 4% in the money. 241 contracts, 1% in the money. The big one, 2,300, almost 2,400 contracts. They're still out of the money, but just barely, 0.3%. We could definitely use a pullback on this one, but technically, as long as we win that one, it would make up for losing the others. I don't know. We'd have to work the math. We don't have time for that. Robinhood down 0.4%, 2.5% and 6.5% out of the money on options closing this Friday. IonQ lost 2.22%, 6.1% out of the money still on Friday's 44s. The biggest decrease by a single underlying 7.81% drop from LabU, the triple leveraged S&P biotech fund, took them down to 9% out of the money. So that's going to be much cheaper to close out in the near future. Mara Holdings down 2.3%, taking them almost 4% and 6.6% out of the money on those 1950s and 20s. Everything for this week still, this Friday. MicroStrategy down 1.9% after a big up day yesterday. That helped brought these back out of the money, the 445s, by 0.6%, and our 465s are now 5.1% out of the money. Netflix, this is our newest addition, just bought into them yesterday, dropped 0.1%, and took their calls 4.7% out of the money. Oklo down 2.34%. Still in the money with those 60s, but a decent drop, and another day is going to make that premium drop nice for us. The 66s are nice and far out of the money, 8.2%, while those 60s are 1.5% in the money. Palantir down 0.38%, still 1.0 and 0.39% in the money on the 147s and 148s. Then they also have 152.50s that are 2.6% out of the money. So we could use another 1% drop throughout the week. That would help. Reddit down a little over 1%. 149s are 2.9% out of the money. The important ones, the 150s, 3,800 contracts, they're 3.5% out of the money. Rigetti down 0.39%. They're starting to get cheap. 6.1 and 10% out of the money. Those 14s they're probably around 5 cents now at this point. So we might see them close, especially if we get another down day. RH, I actually forgot my orange here. Right, we talked about it. RH, they closed out their debit call spreads, and then they bought shares, so we'll now have a gray line with a share total, and then we'll just have a standard collar strategy like the rest of them. SMCI was the big winner today, 6.92% increase. Took them in the money, enough to make them roll them, so they closed out the 52s and rolled them, and the same amount, so 5,800 contracts. So the 5,894 came out of this, but the remaining 5,172 still stay because these 53s are still in play. They're 0.32% in the money. New Scale Power up over 2%. Oh, these were way in the money and they just kept going, so they took the loss. That hurt. But they still have 44s and 46s that are 2.3 and 7% out of the money. But the largest portion was those 39s. So not a great week trading SMR. But again, like I said, the fund managers themselves say they are perfectly happy if the stock blows through their strike, because the increase in value is more than the loss from closing out the option. All right, Tempest AI down 3.3%. They're 10.9% out of the money. Tesla down almost 2%, 1.93. That helped. They were what, 3.7, 3.8% in the money. So they're now down to 1.8% in the money. They will become much cheaper. Say we made it all the way to Friday, these would cost $5.78 to close out, as opposed to how they ended yesterday at $14.27. So they will definitely still have more premium than that, but it's going to help a lot. And then 322.50s are 3.7% out of the money. Yeah, so right off the bat, right, $6 came off the stock price, so those probably dropped by around $6 too. Upstart down 1.1%. We're looking at 76s are 2.5% and 77s are 3.8% out of the money. Vertiv Holdings, they rolled a portion of this, but not all of it. So this did get a little confusing when we were looking at the numbers, but we saw Vistra Corp and Vertiv. We rolled and got a nice profit on it. We will see how everything shakes out in the wash. It's not going to make sense talking about the numbers on what they did. They left some, basically, even if they close out a portion of it, they still have sold calls that they can just wait to see if they win. All right. So that all comes out to, let's go ahead and transfer that over. Sorry, I have a goofy way of doing it, but if I write the minus, then it acts stupid on me and it thinks I'm writing a formula, so I have to do it that way. I'm sure there's better ways, but anyway, why isn't this working? Okay, so we had a profit of $334,000. That's a realized gain in trading, and then a decrease in value. This is not a loss because we didn't sell the shares. It's just a decrease in value of $982,000. But that pales in comparison to yesterday's increase of $30.8 million. Okay, and then the last thing on this page to talk about, there was 17.7 million new outstanding shares added yesterday. So we are now at 214 million outstanding shares. We are now a $1.3 billion fund. Just as quick as we were running to $1 billion, I think we're going to be at $2 billion soon at the rate we're going. ULTY, I want to say it actually closed a cent lower than that. For some reason, these things are not wanting to finish updating that last penny. But okay, that's it for ULTY. Now let's look at LFGY. We're able to get through them much quicker, less funds, less trades to talk about. All right, so lots of little trades, right? And we're not really worried about them. We're talking about one contract for 25 cents, $25, right? They're not doing full rolls, so we don't sit and waste time talking about it. When we do have a full roll, we talk about it. So here's NVIDIA. They bought the close. There are 277 contracts at 165, and then they sold at 175. So they had to roll up and out because these were for July 18th. The new ones are for July 25th. They also sold the other side of the credit spread, the other calls. So collected a little bit for them and then had to buy new ones to go along with them. And then they also have some individual little trades similar to the rest of the things. So 89, almost 90, call it $90,000 loss on that roll. So that was the only actual roll. And that all totaled up to a loss or a debit of $58,839 on the trading day. Also wanted to update my estimate. I think it is going to be closer to 50 than my 47 guess. I'll leave it there, but I just crunched some more numbers after moves they took yesterday, and I'm thinking it's going to be close to 50, but we will see. All right, BitDeer, starting off with the biggest loser, 7.1% loss, decrease, right? It's not lost money if you don't sell the shares. And that helped because we were basically at the money. We're now 7.5% out of the money with those 13s expiring on Friday. CleanSpark down 3.25%, 3.25%, taking them 14.8% out of the money. These have got to be getting pretty cheap to close. Wouldn't be surprised if we see a roll tomorrow, especially if we have a down day. Coinbase down 1.5%. We've got 33 contracts that are in the money by 1.4%. We've got almost 700 contracts at 400. They're 3% out of the money. Core Scientific up about 1.5%, but it didn't take us too close. We're still 5.3 and 9% out of the money with our 1450s and 15s. Just pointing out again, the 15s are the ones we need to win. It's not detrimental if we lose the 1450s. 50 cents a share times 100 shares times 79 contracts will pale in comparison to 6,500 contracts. So as long as we stay under 15, there'll be a win. Circle Internet Group down over 4.5%, getting real nice and far out of the money, 13.9% out of the money, but these guys have such high IV that the premium stays pretty high on their options. Galaxy Digital down 2.75%, helped get these a little further away from the money, and these are the ones we need to win. The 2150s are 3% out of the money now, 1,100 contracts there. We've also got 47 contracts at 23. And again, some of these tiny numbers of contracts, they might have fallen into what was being sold on the previous page, but I don't have the time to sit and look up small numbers at a time. GameStop down 2%. That helped. They were in the money before the day started, and now our 2350s are out of the money by 1.2%, giving us a better chance to win that trade. Robinhood down 0.4%, still 2.5% in the money on these 97s. They're really all that matters. 1,100 contracts compared to 14, but those 14 are at 107, 7.5% out of the money. HUD 8 Corp down over 2.5%. Again, that helped. These 22s were in the money. They aren't any longer. 2% out of the money. And the 23s, the ones that are important that we need to win, are 6.6% out of the money. IBIT, that hurts, right? Down 3%. We don't have any options, so it's not like anything's getting out of the money for a winning trade. So this just increases or decreases our value with every move. So today was a almost 3% decrease on them. They are 9.2% of the fund too. So if it were 10 with a 3% loss, that would actually be a 0.3% loss effect or decrease overall on the share price. But so it's not far off. Mara Holdings down 2.3%. Took these 21s almost 12% out of the money. They've got to be getting pretty cheap. MBTX went down to 275.61. We've got we used to have 3 separate spreads with MBTX. They closed one of them out yesterday. So now we have this August 15th where we sold the 295s and bought the 320s. So we need it. This is a credit call spread, so we need this one to stay below 295 to win, and it's currently 7% out of the money. So today's drop helped us, and today's drop helped this one as well. This is a longer term, December 31st debit put spread. So we bought the 230 and we sold the 150. We need it to drop below 230 to win. We want that to go in the money. It's currently 16% out of the money, and this is losing value every day. If we went back a couple of weeks to when this trade started, they paid over $5-6 million for this, and it's now worth $3 million. And this 150 is going to cost us $1.5 million to close as of right now. Now, as time goes on, if the stock stays above that, that'll go to worthless. Okay, Mercado Libre, MELI, up 0.4%, still just under 2,400. We got one contract that's 2.9% out of the money. We're really talking about $600 in a $100 million fund. And then 24 contracts that are 7.5% out of the money. MicroStrategy gave back some today, 1.9%. That helped. These 450s were in the money. They are no longer. They're 1.7% out of the money, and the 460s are 4% out of the money. So looking like we got a chance, but if you know MSTR, it can explode or tank any day. NU Holdings up 3.6%. That took these 1350s in the money, but they left them alone. See, that's the thing, right? They would have been 7 cents to close yesterday if we didn't. These are the thing, right? Is it really worth getting that last 7 cents out of something, because now it runs up into the money and it's going to cost you. Now, if it stayed right here all the way to close on Friday, they'd only cost us 4 cents to close because it's only 4 cents in the money. But they don't wait all the way till the last second. They got 14s, though, a whole lot less, 20 times less, 270 that are 3.4% out of the money. They started the day 2 cents to close. Not sure why they didn't close them. Maybe just not worth their time. NVIDIA, the big winner over here, up over 4%, caused them to have to close and roll these. That was our only roll from the last page. So we will have new options on the screen tomorrow. Almost there. Opera. Let's see. Up 0.5%. Sorry, I got lost focus. I realized I didn't bring down my dad joke of the day with me. So they've got 20s for this week and 20s for next week. So they're both 7% out of the money this week. So, I mean, they were 2.5 cents to close yesterday. I don't know how much cheaper they want them to get, but they probably didn't really go up, even though the stock increased, though, since they're so far away. PayPal down about 1.25%. 76s are 4.1% out of the money. Riot Platforms down 3.28%. That helped. These were basically right at the money, and now they are 3.3% out of the money at $12.50. They're not the ones that matter, though. There's 20 times as many contracts at 13. They're 7.4% out of the money. And then finally, Block dropped by almost 3.9%, which took them to 7.5% out of the money. Sorry, losing my voice here, getting to the end. Again, I didn't transfer this over. I was trying to wait till the last minute so all the late changes would come in. So we can do that now. That was a negative, right? Yep. So this is a uncommon day when you get negatives on both. So, but it's not impossible, right? Because you can lose money on some. That's the whole thing, right? So we only rolled the one that cost us money. So that's where our negative in the trading comes from. We're winning most of the other ones. So we just haven't taken the win yet. So that's how that ends up happening. But like I said, I think this one's going to be closer to 50 than my original guess. I'm going to try and walk upstairs to my joke on my way to finishing this because I can't leave you without the joke. So we are now a $171 million fund. There were 50,000 new shares added yesterday, bringing us up to 4.25 million. And that's pretty much everything I got. So again, people asked for a quick 30-second repeat. So big picture, ULTY profited $334,000 trading and decreased in value of the fund by $982,000. And then, like we just said, LFGY lost $58,000 trading and decreased in value by $2.8 million. Boy, this is a perfect time to end the video. I can't talk anymore, losing my voice. So, as always, just want to thank you for watching. Thanks for the likes, the shares, everything like that. You guys have all helped me grow very quicker than expected for sure. So you deserve a dad joke of the day. And if you're not subscribed already, please subscribe, hit the notification thing so you know when the things are coming. That's usually around 9:30 at night on weeknights because of kids' practices. But anyway, dad joke of the day. What's the best way to watch a fly fishing tournament? Live stream. I'm guessing you guys probably guessed that one. Okay. That's it. Have a good night, and I will probably talk to you guys tomorrow. Oh, by the way, I will put a link, if you're probably not still here at this point, but I'll put a link to that start here, all you need to know, FAQs. Okay, the end.